Everybody, it's Friday. What's it? It's 26th of March, 2021. I'm still Kevin Murcko. This is still CoinMetro, and this is our weekly AMA. So as the name suggests, you ask me anything. Careful, be nice. And I'm going to try to answer it. So I think we already literally have a question. First one in. So Philippe, first one in the room with a question. When we lock an amount of XCM for staking, will we be able to keep on adding XCM to it? And if by adding XCM to it, we upgrade our tier, will everything be automatically recalculated? Nice question. So initially, when the staking program initially comes out and it's based on treasury, there will be a limit to the amount of XCM that each individual can stake and overall how much XCM can be staked. Before that limit is hit, yes, you can continually add. And yes, if it changes your tier, it would change your tier, meaning that you would go from tier 1 to tier 2. Like if you had 9,000 staked, let's say, and went to 11,000, you'd be in tier 1. If you have, then you staked up to 26,000, you'd go into tier 2, etc. Unless, and let's say the maximum you could stake was 30,000. Well, once you hit 30,000, then what? You wouldn't move anymore. That will be removed, and the goal is to remove that as we start to grow that staking program, and we start to move from this treasury-based operation into a revenue-based operation. And the goal is to do that within 3 to 9 months of launching the staking program itself. Hey, Brian. Yeah. I need to get a haircut. When I don't get a haircut, and the hair that I do have starts to come out the sides, I look like Inspector Gadget on this green screen. So I have like these. Anybody watch Inspector Gadget when they were a kid? I used to love that show. Reminiscing, Inspector Gadget. What was the name? Here's a pop quiz for everybody. I'm gonna have to scroll down to see if anybody can. What was the name of Inspector Gadget's niece? Right on. There you go. Don't Google it either. Don't cheat. Okay. There's probably like 2 people in the whole room that are old enough to even know what I'm talking about. So we'll see if anybody can answer that one. Hey, Kevin, anything decent planned for the weekend? Nope. Work, I imagine. Yeah, probably work. I don't know on what yet. I haven't quite gotten there yet. I literally have work that I need to do today. Then I've just been on calls. I did an event actually earlier today, which I totally forgot about, or I would have invited you all to come and ask questions. But I talked about DeFi, which was fun. With 3 actually other pretty decent people. So, sometimes you fall into panels, man, where you feel like you're talking to a wall, I don't know, an animal and like a children's toy. No real intellectual feedback. This was actually a decent panel. We talked about DeFi. It went well. But yeah, no plans really. I can't say that I normally don't have any plans for weekends, to be honest, but sometimes things end up happening. I don't know. I'll let you know what happened this weekend, next Friday. When will we see PRQ on margin? Can we get XCM as collateral on margin? Both those things are coming. XCM on margin is probably going to fall into Q3. Actually, it's on the Q2. It's on the Q2 roadmap. Oliver and I were halfway. Oliver drafted it out. I sat in the room and just shouted things into the air, and he wrote them down and then put nice colors next to them to prioritize them. So, but I think at the end of the day, we will see PRQ on margin maybe before that happens. I think we will. We have one of our liquidity providers is willing to provide additional liquidity on PRQ, so we're waiting for that to happen. It was supposed to happen a few days ago, hasn't happened yet. Let's see if it happens today. Once that happens, it makes it much easier for us to turn it on margin because we know that the book's a bit healthier. So PRQ on margin probably going to happen before XCM as collateral on margin, but XCM as collateral on margin is inside the Q2 roadmap and will happen in Q2, probably early Q2. A little bit of low-hanging fruit as we start to build out some more substantial projects inside of Q2. Hey, Grace, happy to see you as well. All right, yeah. So, Philippe, you got a thumbs up for coming in first. So, congratulations. What is the future of the XCM token? Hey, Cobus. I guess Cobus. Wow. So, the future of XCM, I think it's pretty bright. I think it's a good future. The XCM token initially, the whole idea behind the token was to power the ecosystem, power everything that we do. And over time, we've built XCM into most of all the operations that happen inside the ecosystem. The goal would be to add it into all operations, not necessarily the same way, For example, in the exchange, all exchange fees converted to XCM, 50% of that XCM is vaulted. We wouldn't do that across the entire ecosystem. Why? Well, the company does need some liquid revenue to pay for its bills. And if we have to sell XCM to get that revenue back, it doesn't really make much sense. We negate the kind of demand that the XCM creates as we buy it in the market. So there has to be certain pieces of the ecosystem where revenues come to us directly. However, that doesn't mean that XCM can't play a role. So over time, it's about adding XCM into more and more of our current ecosystem and adding it into every single new product we offer, whether that be from a reward side, whether that be from a simple access standpoint, whether that be gaining access to better conditions because of holding of or locking in of XCM. At the same time, I think my long-term goal is to get all you guys that are currently customers to become investors. So investors that are also customers, meaning that as you trade on the exchange, you actually become owner of the exchange. I think that's a really cool concept. I think a lot of companies are going to start going down that path. A lot of companies have already started. I think crowdfunding kind of started that initial wave. But crowdfunding, in its immaturity, years ago, nobody was paying so much attention to it. It was more of a fad. The first time someone raised $1 million on crowdfunding, it was a huge deal. And now crowdfunding's become almost a norm in many ways. And now I think, if you're using a product and you're providing feedback on that product and, all that stuff is invaluable, you should be compensated for that. You should be able to reap the rewards just like everyone else that's invested in that platform reaps those rewards. So I think, my thought process is that at the end of the day, the best thing we can do for our customers is once we have this tokenized liquidity, once liquidity is also being able to be traded on CoinMetro equity, that over time, you can actually have a swapping mechanism between XCM and equity. That means that, once you get 10,000 XCM tokens or 5,000 XCM tokens, you can convert those for, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever the rate is, and almost work out kind of, without overcomplicating the front end, kind of like an options, kind of like a fixed option. So basically, you have I got to get that word out of my vocabulary. And then I'm going to say essentially, because I don't know what to say after that. You have let's say XCM in your wallet, and you're told that for the next 15 days you can convert XCM to equity at this rate. And obviously, over those 15 days, the equity price can change, and thus, if it goes higher, you actually lock in a bargain. And I think that's quite cool, having something like an option swap. And other ways where you can decide, instead of earning XCM as a reward, maybe on staking, for example, you earn equity tokens. You just become an equity shareholder. Why not? I think that's cool. And I think that's kind of not necessarily 100% related to XCM, but XCM being a part of all these different micro ecosystems inside of our large ecosystem will benefit one way, shape, or another from the addition of, let's say, these innovations. It's the end of March. Who is the CM Employee of the Month? CM Employee of the Month. That's a good one. We've never done CM Employee of the Month, actually. We do have enough employees now that we could have a CM Employee of the Month. I remember when I was a kid, I can clearly remember in 6th grade, I was the Student of the Month for like 10 out of 10 months. I'm not trying to brag. I mean, just being the best in my 6th grade class. Amazing. But the system was flawed, obviously. Somebody can't be the best student 10 months in a row. It's ridiculous. And then, of course, I used to get a lot of flack from all my friends because they're like, I was like kissing up to the teacher. And I wasn't. I didn't even like the teacher. In fact, I really despise the teacher in many ways. Hopefully she no longer is on this planet, so she's not listening to this right now. Miss Carano, I think her name was. She was terrible. Anyway, my point being is that we haven't done that here in CoinMetro. Maybe we should. You can't just put me on the spot about CM Employee of the Month, because if I say somebody's name, then everybody's going to be upset. And then next month I might have to name somebody else, even if they're not the Employee of the Month, so that they feel better. And then I get into this weird situation where I got to pick. I don't want to get in that situation. I would say but collectively we all should be the Employee of the Month. We should do a CM party every at the end of every month and tell everybody that they did a great job, and then secretly behind closed doors tell people who didn't that they didn't. Maybe that would be what we should do. But yeah, we don't have an Employee of the Month. I don't know. I'll think about it. Let me think about it. Hey Pedro, how are you? Will you be able to use staked XCM for margin lending, as in lending it to others? So we are working on liquidity pools. Liquidity pools will interact with staking. So essentially, I guess the answer to that question is yes. The inherent, I don't want to call it a problem, but the inherent issue with doing something like this is that the more we integrate XCM into these type of services, the more risk comes back to the book. So when we provide, imagine someone using XCM as collateral to 5x sell XCM. That's putting 5x more sell pressure on the book, allowing them to keep their XCM, maybe potentially to buy lower. And then let's imagine at the same time you have people loaning XCM that is falling in price. And you know, you create a lot of risk in different pockets when you have still a relatively illiquid asset, which, to be fair, all crypto is relatively illiquid when compared to other markets. Inside of crypto, let's say micro caps, small caps, which are usually called, you know, altcoins or shit coins or whatever, are inherently usually less liquid than their counterparts like Bitcoin, Ethereum, et cetera. So, or not usually, they are less liquid. So you need to be careful. We need to be careful as we start to build out those features for XCM and that access, that we don't step on our own toes. We don't want to build anything that inherently adds just buy pressure either, because that too can become an issue. We all obviously don't want to add things that are going to continually add sell pressure. We want to add services that enable liquidity to grow and the market to become more mature. And our hope is, and what we've seen as proof of concept is that when we do that, the market goes higher because the trust and the overall exposure of XCM grows, the trust in the asset, the exposure, the liquidity, and that pushes price higher over time. So I would say that definitely that's something that I've talked about here internally multiple times, and something that we want to do. I don't think it's a Q2 or a Q3 objective. It potentially could be Q4. It really depends on how we see the book mature. Books matured a lot in the last 12 months, a lot in the last 6 months, and even a lot in the last 3 months. And if we continue on that same trajectory, I think that there's possibility that we may be able to do this before Q4. It's something we will do. The question is the timeline, basically. Jesus. Fuck, man, I like punch myself every time. Will the bond pool replace the KDA staking in XCM? Okay, bond, you mean KDA bonds. Okay, bonding with KDA. More than likely, yes, because that is a more sustainable way of providing APY on Kadena that is staked or locked at CoinMetro. That doesn't mean we won't provide additional potential staking-like services for Kadena inside of our own ecosystem. But definitely, I think once bonding is integrated into CoinMetro, it wouldn't make much sense to offer both at the same time, seeing one is feeding out of Treasury. And if we can not feed out of Treasury, it's obviously better for the company. But at the end of the day, things that are better for the company, since, to be honest, the way we run the company and our vision is very much aligned with our clients' goals. So the more those goals are aligned, and they are already very aligned, means if it's good for the business, it's generally good for the client as well. And so paying out of Treasury is not necessarily good for the business. It brings in clients, it brings in volume, so it can lead, like our quant program brought in a lot of quant. And while some of those guys didn't necessarily trade on CoinMetro, many of them did. And so over time, we will definitely recoup what we spent on quant staking, for example. And eventually we'll have native quant staking, where you actually earn quant. And it's part of this move 3 to 9 months after we institute staking to get sustainable staking. And this is already a version of sustainable staking. So I guess long answer to short question is yes. Hey, Skylar, how are you? What will be the next bond project? Well, you were going to find out today. I think it's been pushed to Monday. But I think I've already kind of spilled the beans on that one a bit. But it's a cool project. Has to do with cashback and crypto and other things, and really cool branding. Awesome people behind it. Awesome people behind the project. Anyway, I think that everybody will know what it is come Monday. So I'll let you guys sit over the weekend and bite your fingernails, see what's going to happen. Hey, Jet Fuel, I can feel the BizDev question coming. What's the difference between buying CoinMetro bond on CM and Ignium? What are the perks on both? Well, it's the same asset. So buying on Ignium right now has that peer-to-peer marketplace. So our secondary market isn't yet open. So the perk, I guess, on Ignium side right now is you can buy it there. You can buy it in a secondary market. You can't yet on CoinMetro. In April, you will be able to do it on CoinMetro as well in a matching engine, so slightly different. You won't have to, you're not going to do a peer-to-peer transaction. You're just going to go into an order book as that order book fills out. But there's no inherent benefit. One benefit that's indirect to your question is obviously the interest is based on tiers. So if you buy on Ignium and you're not a CoinMetro client, you're going to get the lowest tiered interest, which is 8%. Whereas if you are a CoinMetro client and you've staked or locked some XCM in the current tier system, you would get higher interest. So I guess you can equate that to a perk. It's not necessarily about trading per se, but it means that, if you interact with XCM, buy XCM and lock it, you will get better interest rates, whether you buy on Ignium or whether you buy on CoinMetro. What day and time will Flux be listed on CoinMetro? Day and time, don't have an answer for you on that one, unfortunately. Right now, we've been back and forth with the Zelcore team. We currently have kind of a test net running where our CTO is testing out with their tech guys and getting all kind of the, just making sure things work, conformance testing, make sure there's connectivity, understanding, make sure things play nice together. So we're definitely moving in that direction. I don't think we have, and that's not necessarily for the listing, to be fair. But, we'd rather roll out things together or close enough together where we roll out listings plus that additional functionality sooner rather than later. So I'll have to get back to you on that. But you can definitely tag me or Oliver on Telegram, and we'll provide that information once we have it. First. I don't know first with what, but... Hey, Skylar. Classic show, Inspector Gadget. Yeah, very nice. Nobody's told me the name of the niche yet. So if I join Tram and the trader sells BTC for euro, does it create a taxable event for me? Not necessarily, no, because you are remunerated based on your collateral. So if you put Bitcoin up as collateral, no matter what that trader does, your profit and or loss is going to come from your collateral, Bitcoin. So even if that trader buys Ethereum and then sells it for euro and then use that euro to buy VXV and then sells that and buys Link and then whatever they do, not that all those are currently available in Tram, but they will be at some point. When that happens, all that happens is that the profit and loss of those trades either gets added to your Bitcoin balance or subtracted from your Bitcoin balance in Bitcoin. So no, not necessarily. Though I would say that every tax jurisdiction may look at that in a different way. I would say my guesstimation, my hypothesis is that most tax jurisdictions wouldn't look at that that specific movement as a taxable event. However, profit is generally thought of as a taxable event. So some countries, regardless if you went to fiat, you made a profit, and that profit would be taxed either as income or capital gains. So it doesn't necessarily negate the tax event, but that specific tax event of, let's say, crypto to fiat doesn't necessarily exist. Did the reinstatement of margin fees have an effect on BTC trading volumes? BTC is close to all-time high, but volume was relatively low previous days. Potentially. I don't necessarily think so. I think it's more around the lines of just people, there are always ebb and flows in trading. Sometimes when you get into tighter ranges, a lot of people are not range traders, so they pull back. Some people like to trade breakouts, and when you get into a range, there's no breakouts. I would say most novice to let's say semi-professional retail traders, if that makes any sense, generally trade breakouts more than ranges. Ranges are usually harder to trade. So yeah, I don't, to be fair, I haven't gone and looked, so I can't tell you that I've looked at this and kind of done the math and figured out if this is the case or not, but I don't necessarily think so. Most traders don't hold positions for long enough where the margin fees become a major issue. Usually what happens is the percentage of exposure on margin goes high on breakouts. Why? One, because people trade breakouts. Two, because if it goes against you, most people don't want to exit. They don't want to take the loss, right? So they end up holding on for a long time to not take the loss. So I don't, not necessarily, I don't think so, but there could be some crossover, some correlation there, sure. What's new in BizDev? There you are, Jet Fuel. All right, Jet Fuel. So BizDev. So just had a call. I've had a few calls now about potentially using APIs and widgets, not just our Challenger Bank that we talked about. By the way, no news on that one yet. Still pushing away. I think at some point, look, there's always this negotiation tactic that these guys gave me a better price. That's a negotiation tactic that just about everybody uses. So these guys gave me a better price. I know a guy, and expecting to get an even better price. Now, I'm not the guy that's going to keep going lower on price. I will match price to a certain extent, but at the same time, why am I going to pursue a business where I'm not going to be making any money or making remedial money with potential high risk on the partnership, right? Because with that widget, we're freezing prices for 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever it is. And if we're taking the risk on that, and obviously if the commission is too low, we may come out at the end of the day, making a loss. So I don't know, so we've had back and forth. We're still definitely in the running. Nothing's been decided on their side. I think they're trying to get the best price, which is fine. That's part of the negotiation. I'm not going to go any lower. They may have lower offers, and they may end up going with someone before us, but I can almost guarantee you that lower offer will not be covering the substantial amount of risk that actually gets induced by that exposure, and that will probably change over time, and I bet you we get a phone call back months down the line. So still not decided there, but I've had a few similar calls with a few similar apps that are looking to do similar things that need support. We definitely have the Zelcore partnership going on. We have the KDA partnership that's about to get kicked up a notch. So those we also have a partnership that will be coming into a foray with this new listing on our Invest platform from this unnamed company that I'm not going to name, but Monday you'll find out who it is. So those are three kind of things floating around in the air. We have this B2B page that'll be coming out in Q2. Which will focus on the widget, which will focus on the APIs around that widget. It'll focus on onboarding for legal entities. It'll potentially focus on onboarding for individuals. I don't know if we'll have the service level domains up. Probably not, but it's potential that it may be talked about on that page. Also, potentially merchant services. We're looking at in Q2 to allow crypto transfers between accounts, and potentially towards the end of Q2, fiat transfers as well underneath that EMI agent license. Doing that will allow us to be able to generate QR codes for clients. So if you want to run a merchant account on that account, you'll be able to. You just generate a QR code, smack it out in an email, show it to somebody on your phone. They click it, Jesus, getting old. They scan your QR code, whatever, they make a payment. So, and it's instantaneous because it happens on CoinMetro's infrastructure, not on Layer 1. And there's no gas fees or fees until you withdraw, not on every single transaction. So all those things are going to come out on the B2B side. That's going to definitely open up. I will have so much more to say on the BizDev side coming out towards the end of Q2 because we're going to start to offer these products, to companies. And there's definitely interest and appetite for those products. Oh, wait a minute. Before I get to Kevon, when new coins from Bill. We have a few. Obviously, we have Flux that we're talking about. We have a few others we have currently working on one that has its own mainnet, potentially about to launch another ERC20 that people have been asking for. It's going to pick up pace. I know that I said that probably would happen already, but we got into a lot of different development, different projects, different partnerships that just, when you plan ahead so far sometimes in fintech and as a startup, you end up finding more important things or maybe more innovative things or, kind of like startups are kind of like dogs, where a butterfly will fly by and the dog starts looking at the butterfly barking. And then somebody drops a bone 6 miles away and they look at the bone, they run over the bone. Now the bone is awesome. What butterfly? What's a butterfly? And then as they're chewing on that bone, some other buddy comes out with a steak in their hand and that's a steak, runs over a bone. What bone? So we tend to kind of fixate attention sometimes where, on the shinier object. And sometimes that may seem, I don't know, counterintuitive sometimes to a structured business. But for a startup, especially in things like fintech and crypto, sometimes that going towards the shinier objects does lead you to some success. So as part of our business does kind of need to agile enough to pivot and move. So listings listings are an important factor of our business, and we will be doing more of them in Q2. I would expect at least 3 to 5 listings in Q2. Tell us more about Kadena news. Will we be able to earn XCM staking rewards from holding KDA along with this new locking? So one will probably replace the other initially, but once we roll out our staking program, the goal would be that we have the ability to issue, to give additional staking. So kind of you have a choice of how your staking program works. Do you want to do KDA bonding? Do you want CoinMetro KDA staking? Do you want CoinMetro XCM staking with your KDA? Be able to select and different rates would apply because that rate's going to depend on liquidity, demand, supply, all these different things behind the scenes of how we're generating revenue on that locked KDA. So I would expect in the future lots of different options. Once bonding comes out, it'll probably become the only option for a short amount of time while we build out the other options. And as far as other things happening with KDA, with wrapped assets, with kind of being, I would say, like a fiat kind of on-ramp into their DEX. There's other things we're talking about, and there's definitely other things to come. Zelcore also working with them with Zell Network to polish out this kind of trifecta partnership, if you will. But lots of interesting things to come for sure. How is Challenger Bank talks going? Becoming more or less? Yep, as I think I've already commented on that. And yeah, we're not talking so much. There's some general back and forth. I've got, I'm at the point, at least on the pricing side, that I'm not going to go any lower. And if they take somebody else, that's fine. I don't necessarily want to pick up that project if we're not going to be able to make money. And I think that, there's a lot of unscrupulous people in crypto. There's lots of companies that'll offer you the world on a sales call. And then when you actually go to execute anything, it is absolutely 100% the opposite of what was said on the sales call. And I think that's probably where they're falling right now. And unfortunately, they may fall for it, and that's fine. They can fall for it. I can almost guarantee you they will come back if that's the case. For now, I've gone as low as I'm willing to go, and I've given them some background as to why. And we'll see where it ends up. I think in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we're going to get an answer and find out whether we move forward with them or not. In the meantime, we were going to pick up other clients with the same, looking to do the same thing. There's massive amounts of companies right now trying to get into crypto. Kadena Chain Relay, can you speak a little more about it and on a level that doesn't require a crypto engineering degree to understand if possible? So like many things in crypto, right? Crypto, as an emerging kind of nuanced market, likes to create names for things, brandable names. Like we have tram or had tram. Now we call it copy trading because, well, who knows what a tram is? Well, it's something you ride on in a city, right? Trying to explain that of what it is. When you say copy trading, people inherently just get it. I had a DeFi, I told you I had a DeFi chat this afternoon, right? So on this conference, this virtual conference, we talked about DeFi. And I mentioned, impertinent loss, these kind of terms, right? Crypto likes to make things sound complex because it makes them sound cooler to the core crypto community. If instead of calling it impertinent loss, you said, by the way, guys, if you're a liquidity provider and the price is skyrocketing, you're only going to be selling, which means you end up with ETH or something else wrapped, whatever, and that probably has a more stable price, and everybody that bought from you is now 10x. If the market is crashing, you're going to end up with a whole bunch of assets that may be worth way less than you thought they were going to be. So the term impertinent loss is one of those terms that's like, okay, well, it sounds cool, makes people not understand it, but it sounds cool to the guys that do understand it and or the guys that are in the crypto community and the crypto geeks. So here I think, chain relay and the Kadena bonding, et cetera, these are terms that Kadena created as a branding mechanism, which I love. To be fair, I'm not against that at all. I've done that in every business I've ever owned, and there's merit to that. But essentially what this all means is it's an interest-bearing account. It's an interest-bearing staking-like program that allows you to essentially participate in the network. And by participating in the network, you're rewarded. Simple as that. So, you participate in the network. By you participating in that network, you are rewarded for that participation. Whether that participation is providing liquidity, whether that participation is just simply locking assets to reduce circulating supply, whether that's on a validator side, et cetera, you are participating in the ecosystem, and that's why you're rewarded. So pretty much simple as that. There's a lot of branding going on to kind of add some depth to what essentially is similar to what other entities are doing. I would say, obviously, the way I think Kadena is doing it the right way in many ways, where many staking programs, crypto.com, are absolute bullshit, and eventually just will stop because there's no way to support them and they're not sustainable. This is a more sustainable mechanism, though, like every staking program, word to the wise, APYs will fluctuate. You're not going to make the staking rewards paid on day 1, on day 365, or day 700 and 30, or day 1085 or 95. They're going to change because the supply and demand metrics will change the ability to pay whatever rate that was offered initially. If I buy CM bond on Ignium and sell it, does it create a taxable event? So I would say you're a cute anon. Okay, so cute anonymous person. I would say tax questions, make sure you always ask tax questions to a tax professional. And I mean someone that's paid to give tax advice. I'm not paid to give tax advice. I could give you tax advice all day long, if you like, but I'm not paid to do it. And so, normally what I would have something going across the bottom of my screen right now, which says, this is not tax advice, even though it's clearly tax advice. So in my opinion, my non-tax advice person opinion is that non-professional, my professional, non-professional opinion on this is that when you sell it, you are making a profit or a loss. Now, it may be paid in a stable coin, but to gain access to those funds, you're going to get them in euros at some point. So if your country says that going from crypto to fiat is taxable, at some point you will be in fiat. If you take that stable coin and then have a CoinMetro account and rebuy crypto with it, you may have not gone to fiat, but you went to a digital representation of fiat, which I'm not sure is all that much different, still could be taxable. In countries that just like to tax profit, which I think is a lot of countries, if you made a profit, it's probably taxable, either capital gains or income. I think many people look at this the wrong way. If you start out kind of organizing how you're going to attack a market by where am I going to pay tax, you're going to miss a ton of opportunities. You should be focused on where can I make the most money. Trust me, it might be painful when you make $1 million to have to pay 200, 400, whatever thousands worth of tax that must be due on that 100 or that million. But it's much more painful, impertinently painful, that you never make the $1 million because you're focused on only doing operations that don't require that don't have a tax burden, or you're focused on operations that do have a tax burden. You don't pay attention to it and you don't bother paying your taxes. So I would say create a strategy where you believe you're comfortable enough to actually make money, and then worry about jurisdiction, worry about your structure, worry about, okay, I've now made some money. Maybe I can invest that money in a particular tax structure that's going to lower my tax burden. Don't lower your tax burden before you have the burden, is kind of my advice. Inspector Gadget's niece is Penny. Right on, Penny. What about the dog? What's the dog's name? All right, that's the next question. Inspector Gadget, that's Peter Hudson. So that's in Australia, huh? I didn't even know you had, well, I guess you should have. Does Inspector Gadget have an Australian accent in Australia? That'd be interesting. I actually saw Inspector Gadget rerun one time in Mexico, and he was dubbed. And he sounded like he weighed 560 pounds and ate a whole lot of tacos, which I thought was interesting. But yeah. So what's the dog's name? That's my next question. Any update on XCM staking? We need good XCM news. XCM staking is coming, just like it's always been coming, I guess. We expect it to launch early April, mid-April, somewhere in there. April, I guess. It's coming though. The designs are coming along. They're being refined. We've already started, I think, the dev process, but the dev process is in its early stage. But I think most of the back end dev is, I think, done or close to it. It's really about just the front end, and I would say it's 2 sprints worth of work, 1.5 sprints maybe, to get the first version out, and then we can build feature sets on top of that. So, any information on getting ISO or any other security certificate? Also, any plans for official bug bounty? So ISO, I've dealt with ISO a million times. I'd have to say, in reality, the amount of safety that comes from an ISO certificate is about as valuable as the paper that the ISO certificate may or may not be printed on. The good thing about ISO is that it means you're following some form of protocol, but you can get that same kind of assurance by doing, I would say, more frequent pen testing and security audits. And we've actually just gone through a pen test with Hackin, so you'll be seeing the results of that probably in the next 2 weeks. And once we finish that process, we will be doing an official bug bounty program. And we expect that probably to happen in April as well, maybe end of April, I guess, for the bug bounty program. It'll be through some bug bounty provider, maybe Hackin themselves, and we'll provide that bug bounty. ISO, I think ISO in crypto is kind of like a PR stunt, to be fair. I don't know if it adds really that much value. In the real world, it doesn't add that much value. ISO used to be a big deal in some industries, like the medical industry, medical instruments, pharmaceuticals, etc. Even now, I would say, while it might be required in some industries, it's not really a big deal. Nobody really pays attention to it anymore. But the good thing is that it instills better processes. And I would say that we have a general high-level focus on processes inside the company, and we're constantly looking to create better processes, streamline, etc. And we'll continue to do that. But definitely bug bounty and more frequent pen testing and security audits are coming. Is CoinMetro planning to run a Chainlink node? It hasn't been something that's come up. We've talked about validators for Quant. We've talked about running things for Kadena. So far, I mean, we don't have that much inroad into the Chainlink community. If we did, then that probably would be something we'd be thinking about doing, to work closely with our listings. That listing was kind of done because people were simply asking us to do it, and we saw the upward price potential. And even though we couldn't break into the community, we tried. I mean, we were able to talk with the community. We weren't able to really make any strides like we have with Kadena, like we have with Zell, like we've had with Quant, for example. And so there was really little to pursue with Link. If that changes, we'd absolutely look into it, for sure. Man, CoinMetro employees are sure lucky to have you as a CEO. Oh, I appreciate that. I think I'm lucky to have them as employees. In fact, I'm probably more lucky to have employees than they are lucky to have a CEO. I think the company could generally run itself without me being here. You might not get these AMAs and be able to look at my bearded face every week. But generally speaking, I think that the company would continue. I think that's a good thing. If you have companies that rely on one single individual, that's not scalable at all. And so, being able to kind of step away and still the company running as it should it shows that we're doing what we should be doing. But I very much appreciate that. I would say that you as a client or an investor or just coming here to provide your feedback is also a part of that puzzle, right? If you guys weren't here supporting us, then we wouldn't be here to support you. So I appreciate it, all of you guys as well, and I thank you for that comment. Spectre Gadget's niece name is Penny. Yep. All right. Well, somebody else got it. That's good. Still waiting for the dog's name, though. I don't know if I haven't gotten too far down on the list. We only got about 13 minutes to go here. So let's see. Any idea why PRQ is crabbing so badly, despite the partnerships? Well, I think people in crypto get too accustomed, especially in these bull runs, of assets just going in one direction all the time. That's not healthy at all. If an asset is moving in one direction all the time, you are going to have one of the biggest massive implosions that you've ever seen at some point. Case in point, 2017. You do not, I would rather, the crabbing is just accumulation for the most part. When you see crabbing, what you're calling crabbing, right? This is a Wyckoff cycle. So look up Wyckoff market cycles. That's WYCOFF, I believe, Wyckoff. So a Wyckoff market cycle essentially looks like this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then maybe this, and then this. So when your market goes up and it stops, you may be distributing. Distributing means people are selling and price is going to fall. Accumulation or accumulating means people are accumulating more every time it touches that support, and price will eventually go higher. You need to have instances of accumulation and distribution in a market, because if you don't move supply and demand between sellers and buyers, eventually there's nothing left to buy, and or there are no buyers, and or there are no sellers. You need to have that Wyckoff style cycle. And so I would say PRQ crabbing at significantly higher prices than it was months ago, never mind a year ago, but even just months ago, is an absolute godsend for that asset. I would say there's a ton of accumulation happening. I would say on the most part, it's more accumulation than distribution. There has been some distribution towards the top. So that, 160 euro mark, I think, between 140 and 160 maybe, we've seen some distribution. And that distribution has now created resistance. But we're seeing lots of accumulation above the €1 mark. And that's fantastic. I think for long term, you should be extremely happy. Other assets that tend to have, trajectories that look like, rockets, generally don't end well. And either that or they run out of steam. And yes, they may be higher prices, but it dies and it stays at that higher, but basically just sits in no man's land. So I think it's healthy. I think it's healthy what you're seeing. And I think it's generally due to the fact that as they grow, holders or traders know that more people are going to come in and buy, but they don't necessarily want them to push price high enough where they too can't come back in and buy. They want to accumulate more. So there's an ebb and flow where they are selling into the market. They are drifting the market lower so that they can come in and buy more. That also trying to induce more selling from people that have weaker hands so that they can also accumulate over time. Now, accumulation can last months. It can last years. In crypto, accumulation of months is pretty healthy. I think we're at a healthy point, and it's only going to lead to a more explosive upside or potential downside, obviously. But I do think on the PRQ side, I think €3 to €5 is probably the next platform you're going to be looking for that accumulation to happen in distribution. Generally speaking, psychologically, 1, 3, 5, 7, 10. Those are the numbers you want to look out for. 1 and 3 are usually, it's usually that 1 to 3 area is usually a difficult one to breach. Once you breach 3, 5 is almost inevitable. 5 to 7 is difficult. Once you breach 7, you will almost every time see 10. You may not get to 10 just because of market mechanics, because a lot of people have sell orders up at that level. So you may get, 1% below or a few pennies or cents or whatever below. But I would watch those levels for PRQ. Hi, Kevin. I'm thinking about inviting you to my potluck. What do you bring? I bring vegan food. I try to bring vegan food that doesn't look vegan. That's if I'm cooking. Sometimes I might just get lazy. I'm not one of those guys that comes up with the cheese platter with the sticker still on it from the supermarket. Those guys, man. I don't do that. Let me think. I don't know. It really depends. I try to gauge the interest of the community at the potluck to try to understand more or less what they may be eating. Dessert is sometimes an easy one because there's a lot of vegan desserts that are fantastic that no one would know were vegan, and they're relatively easy to make. So that might be up my repertoire. Because I lived in Mexico so long, I'd probably bring Mexican vegan, some type of vegan tacos. I think would probably be something I'd. You can't really get good tortillas in Estonia though. I mean, the crazy thing is there's 900 brands of tortillas or types of tortillas literally there's 900 of them, and they all suck. But why do you have so many? They don't even sell that many tortillas. Literally, Mexico's got 2 types of tortillas. Literally, that's it. It's 2 companies, right? Actually, one of those companies that makes tortillas is an investor in CoinMetro. So there's a little tidbit of information for you. But yeah, I think vegan tacos. I think that would work out. Vegan Mexican tacos. I should throw that out there. Of course, there's no such thing as a non-Mexican taco. I don't know, whatever anybody tells you. I literally saw a sign once that said Israeli tacos. Okay. XCM staking when? Coming, Chuck. It's coming. Early April, I think, is where we're targeting right now. What is the next securities offering? Guess you can tell now. Nope, not telling. Monday. Monday, you guys will find out. That's when it's going to hit. Monday. Hey, Kev, can you shill all parts of CoinMetro like tram and margin, et cetera? Need it for a video. Can you also remove the comment from the screen? Thanks. All right. How about we do this, Links? Can you reach out to me on Telegram? And I will do something special for you. I need to get a haircut this weekend too, because this Inspector Gadget thing isn't really going to work out. So let's collectively try to make the best video we can. So you DM me on Telegram at Kevin Murcko. Just post this again there. This weekend, I'm going to get a haircut. So actually, somebody asked me what I was going to do this weekend. Get a haircut. That's amazing. I'll get a haircut. I can't shave yet, unfortunately. We haven't hit €1, so I'm still not shaving. I'm kind of in that weird moment of not shaving where it's not long enough to be kind of cool, hippie-ish kind of beatnik beard, but it's too long to be like clean. So I just look like a dirty homeless person. Not saying that homeless people are dirty, though. I got to take that back. I'm gonna like lose my job now. A homeless person that is dirty. Let's put it that way. They're not all. Jesus, I'm really gonna. Said someday, man. I'm telling you, there's gonna be a knock on the door. I always fearful for that. I'm just gonna say the wrong thing. You know, I always see these people. They just say the wrong thing and then game over. Like you don't see them for 3 years. They come back like either really skinny or like really overweight because they've just been like in their house. Anyway, long story short. So get me on Telegram. We'll do a professional video. How's that? We'll do like a 30-second. I'll do a 30-second, 1-minute video. Give you a different background. We'll knock it out of the park. Because we don't have many minutes left here, and I just want to get on to some other questions. I bought CM bonds on Ignium. Will yield level they adapt to my personal tier level? Guess same goes for secondary market. In theory, it should. If it doesn't, please reach out to CoinMetro so that we can make sure that fix gets in. It should. It should. It was Penny in the English version, but Sophie in the German one. Harold. Jesus. That. Now, knowing Harold, I would think if this was anybody else, I'd be like, I Googled that. But having talked and known Harold now for a while, he didn't Google it. He just knew that for some reason. When is the next big release? We've all been very quiet on Telegram recently. Staking, definitely probably one of the bigger releases that's coming. There's also some changes to like swap widget, dashboard, markets page, portfolio stuff. All that stuff is coming as well. So I think you're going to see a pretty quick rash of updates quickly, end of March into early April. Yep. Okay. I already answered that one. Paper. I think it literally was a copy of Jet Fuels, I think. CoinMetro. Oh, Jesus. This is one of these fake guys. Sorry. Don King. Let me go back to this. I mean, come on, guys. Seriously, like, I'm not trying to help a scammer. This guy is absolutely a scammer. This guy, Don King right here, Chinese dude, or an Asian guy. I shouldn't say he's Chinese, but he's Asian. Asian guy trying to say it with the name Don King. It's like they have a book of names, you know, and they just place some random picture. This is Don King. All right, so this is absolute bullshit. Again, guys, if someone's just giving out free money, like give us €1, we'll give you €3 back. It's a scam every time. There isn't, in the history of mankind, there's been nothing like that wasn't a scam. It is a scam. Don't pay attention to any of this stuff. It's absolutely ridiculous. And guys, if try to be, I mean, I'm not trying to tell you to be a better scam artist, but really? I mean, really? Like Don King, really? By the way, just in case you don't know, Don King was the manager of Mike Tyson, had a famous hairdo that was about this tall. He was also a black man, not Asian. And I kind of have a hard time thinking that the name Don would be used in the Asian community. I don't know. I'm moving on. Okay. Has marketing restarted? It doesn't seem to be a priority from here, but I'm happy to be wrong. So we've been in the battle back and forth with Facebook, who obviously doesn't care about people scamming, but gives us a hard time to get certified. So we've been back and forth with them to get certified so we start launching additional ads. We're in the similar process with Twitter. We've started to do more Twitter ads around specific topics, and we're starting to get back into Google ads. But we are waiting really for Facebook. Every week we've been talking with someone at Facebook, submitting documentation. Next week we should get a final answer. Once that happens, we'll really be able to push on Facebook and everywhere else really as well. But we're waiting for that Facebook thing to kind of turn over. So we expect that to happen next week, hopefully. When is DNA Euro coming? Good question. So I think DNA Euro, well, I'll have to take a look at the action on the DNA book. But I would say the old moniker of soon here. Soon, it's coming soon. I don't know exactly when, but soon. We definitely have some other pairs that people have asked for that we're going to release as well. Maybe we can do it in one of those releases. Tag me on Telegram. I'll try to get a finer date for you to see once I'm able to check the book. Brian helping us out with thumbs up. So yeah, guys, if you can, thumbs up, popcorn, heart, it's glider. I don't know, whatever you want to click that looks cool and doesn't mean that this show sucked. Would be awesome, and we definitely appreciate it. It helps us get more viewers, which helps the company, which, you know, I think helps everybody really involved. Definitely corruption happening at this school, bribery, I think, at his school. I missed the whole concept, the context of that one. My school, yeah, the 6th grade thing. No, Corona, no. Jesus, now you just made me forget the name. Corano, it was Corano. Almost Corona. She probably drank a lot of Corona, now that I think about it. But no, it was Corano. All right, so we literally have 1 minute. Did anybody answer the name of the dog on Inspector Gadget? No. Inspector Gadget saying good day, mate would be wrong. Yeah, I agree with that, Peter. I was just wondering, man, because I thought it'd be cool. I'd have to look it up online. So I believe the dog was Brian. Was it Brian or Brain? Brain. It was Brain, I believe. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Penny and Brain. Because he was a smart dog. You know, Inspector Gadget was a goof, and Penny was kind of the brains behind the operation, but I think the dog was named Brain. Anyway, so I guess we're going to have to, yeah, it's €1 beard. We'll leave on that. Well, right now it's the 40 cent beard or something. But I'm trying to hold it to €1. I'm not sure my marriage will last if it takes too long, guys. So tell your friends, you know, it is Friday. You're going to have that Zoom call, you know, with that family member you don't like to talk to, just to give them a boost because they've been in lockdown for 18 years now. You know, just show them a picture of me. Like I take a snapshot of this and then send that picture to them and say, this man is suffering. This man is suffering. He needs to shave. He's going to lose. His wife will leave him if he doesn't shave soon. You know, go pick up some XCM. Help him out. You know, help brother out. Come on. And maybe it'll work. I don't know. It should work. I mean, XCM is a great asset to have. Whether you buy it out of pity for my marriage or whether you buy it because it's just an awesome asset to hold in your portfolio, I don't know. But so anyway, spend time with friends and family. Like I always say, have a good weekend, guys. Tag me in Telegram if you have any questions, or if I didn't get to your question, I apologize for not doing that. But there was lots of questions this week and I couldn't make it. So at Kevin Murcko on Telegram, tweet me at Kevin Murcko on Twitter. I got to run because I have to put together my TGIF Friday Google Sheet presentation doc for our internal meeting, and then have 3 other calls after that. I'm going to be late this Friday in the office. So yeah, tag me. I'll jump in a Telegram later this evening and try to answer some of those questions. Thanks everybody for being here. As always, thanks for all the questions. They were great. Thanks for interacting, and see you guys next week.